What up, guys? That Comic Awesome here, doing another review. Today doing Damages number 2. I'm enjoying this series. It's a little light on the substance, but I still think it's going to be good, and it's worth kind of sticking out this first story arc where they're kind of really setting the groundwork and seeing what is really going to lie in store for Damage. So far, in the last issue, you had Sergeant, I believe, Ethan, I can't remember his last name, but he was apparently part of a government experiment to become Damage. Once a day for 1 hour, he can become Damage, and he's pretty much like an unstoppable force. They say that he's the 1 hour weapon of mass destruction. The last issue kind of started off with him being transported, which I assume was maybe to be decommissioned, in which he escaped, fell into Atlanta, where he proceeded to trash and wreck everything. But then Ethan was able to kind of get control and kind of lay low, eventually turning, after the hour was up, turning back into Ethan. So what I find interesting, a lot of people compare Damage to like the Hulk, which I kind of get that, but it's almost a little more of like the Eddie Venom relationship, where they both communicate to each other, and it appears their bond is getting stronger to where when Ethan is Ethan, Damage can talk to Ethan. When Damage is Damage, Ethan can talk to Damage, kind of thing. So it's really, and it seems to be that is a new dynamic in their kind of relationship. So it'll be interesting to see how that forms, and that causes stories to kind of spawn from that. I also hope they at some point kind of more go into his origins, which I'm sure they will. But for right now, it seems to be kind of one fight after another, which I will give you a few issues of that before I kind of get bored and I'm sick of the fighting. Give me something else, that gives me some substance. But this one's kind of so you start off with Damage's first mission. This is Colonel Jonas, who apparently is the female Hispanic Nick Fury in this universe, and her neck is the size of a tree trunk, because eye patches and thick necks are cool. So they're in a sub, and they pretty much, she's like, put me on comms with the asset. So apparently he's like just in this missile that they're launching, and of course, so, it reads, no matter what happens, I want, here's what I'll remember about today. When a fascist militia pointed a nuke at the world, and you, Private First Class Elvis Ethan Avery, went in alone. Fascist. So essentially, like, they sent him in almost like a bomb, and he just wrecks it all up. Which, Damage does look pretty cool. I think the fact that he has almost like the Thing, where his like arms are like scaly and like kind of stone, but then he kind of has like a skull face. I don't know. It's pretty neat. So where the last issue kind of left off too was that to capture him, they brought in the Suicide Squad. That was kind of the cliffhanger. So Ethan wakes up, which, again, this is a personal preference. I don't like this, like, real, like, the fine, like, hair. And I'm sure it probably took the artist a long time to sit here and just... But I wish they would have just maybe given him just color. It's fine for, like, beard hair, but, like... it makes him look almost bald. Remember those things you used to get at the grocery store with like the magnet, the hairy, and you just like, that's what this looks like. So he wakes up, and it's been 20 hours, which is an important thing because he can only become damaged once every 24 hours. So it kind of lends it to be close to when he can be damaged again. Meanwhile, there are news reports, and people are kind of like, this guy's like, it looks like Doomsday, which he kind of does look like Doomsday. So this is where like Ethan starts to kind of like hear more of Damage, and Damage is alluding to that there's more that he doesn't know about, that he has done. Kind of reminds me of the Moon Knight and with the Jake Locke and stuff like that, where he might not fully be aware of what happens when the other one is in control. So he's in this kind of like halfway house, and there's this guy, and he's pretty nice. He just says, "Hey, look, there's we gave you the clothes. Don't worry about it. They were donations." And he asks his name, and it kind of, you get a little glimpse of his origin where Colonel Jonas is welcoming him to the Damage program. But of course, he then uses a fake name and says Everest because he sees the inspirational poster and he says David Everest. So he goes on to explain, hey, this is like the stable inn. You're more than welcome here. He's like, go grab some dinner. He's like, I'm just going to go out for a bit. And he's like, no drugs, no alcohol. If you plan on staying here, he's like, that's cool. So this is where it gets a little ridiculous. So again, he's somebody, anybody. And he sees this girl out on the street. Actually, hang on. So right here, he says, a couple of guys found you passed out, shirtless and pantsless. Is no way to spend a winter night. So this is in Atlanta, and it's obviously winter, but yet there's like green trees everywhere. Like an editor should have been like, hey, didn't we just say it was winter? Why are there leaves and stuff on the trees? Trust me, even in Atlanta, there are no leaves on trees. So he goes and asks this girl, this random person, for their phone. And she's like, well, I'm kind of in a hurry. And he's like, please. Which, I don't know anybody who would be like, yeah, here's my phone, call somebody. Unless they were like stranded on the side of the road or something. So he calls what obviously his parents, which you can see they must be Elvis fans, which is why his first name is Elvis Ethan Avery. And he doesn't, he calls his mom, she says, nope, they just hung up because he wasn't able, he couldn't get anything out. But of course, there was a tracer tracking his parents' landline, so he's sitting there, the girl gives him a coffee, and people keep throwing change in again. I was amusing. And again, I enjoyed this part because you're really kind of getting to know Ethan. And that's, to me, a good superhero comic. Like, a good superhero comic is the person behind the mask and why they are the person that wears the mask, kind of thing. So, from all the change that he got in his coffee, he decided to go to Mr. D's instead of McD's. And then you get some dialogue leading up to some really good ads. A double page. Look at those ads. So of course the Suicide Squad shows up. You have Deadshot kind of taking the lead. I'm not really familiar with all the members of the Suicide Squad. I didn't know Parasite was in there. So they kind of go into this, little bit of a back and forth where it's clear that Amanda Waller wants damage as part of the Suicide Squad. You know, and even Deadshot's like, perks are a lot of travel, and free housing, drawbacks, a bomb in your head, and your days off are spent in a supermax cell. But hey, beats working. And he's like, look, I don't know who you are. I don't know who Waller is. I don't think you know who I am, blah, blah, blah. So then Parasite tries to feed off of Ethan's energy, and Ethan is transformed. Now, I wish they would show more like of him like transforming. But he obviously overloads Parasite with his energy. And then you have Giganta. Again, I didn't know she was part of the Suicide Squad. So she picks him up, and he like blasts through her hand. There's pretty much the rest of the issue is kind of some fight. You get this good little bit with Colonel Jonas, who, again, I kind of like as a character. I wish she just didn't have a stump for a neck. You know, she kind of is cursing Waller for bringing in the Suicide Squad. And then everyone's like, well, should we move in once the hour's up? And she's like, no, this is, we were told this isn't our mess. We'll let Waller, this is Waller's dumpster fire. We'll just sit here and watch it burn. There's a surprise little cameo at the very end. But yeah, I highly recommend this book. Again, I'm going to give it at least a shot for the first story arc. Hopefully it's more than just, Hulk smashing. But subscribe over here, watch some more videos. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.